Hey there, I'm Lynn Toomey, and I wanted to share an interview I recently did with a woman named Linda Butler. And this interview was part of her Boldly Her Summit for midlife women and entrepreneurs. And you are going to hear my thoughts on entrepreneurship later in life. So definitely take a listen, and I hope you enjoy it. Reach out to me if you have any questions. And also, I just launched a new community called Never Too Late to Launch for women over the age of 50. So whether you're thinking about entrepreneurship, you're just launching, or perhaps you've recently launched and you would like to be part of this community for ideas and inspiration and fun, definitely check that out at nevertoolatetolaunch.com. All right, enjoy the interview.
Hello, I'm Linda Butler, the host of the Boldly Her Summit, and I am here to encourage, empower you as an accomplished woman to really step in and boldly design your authentic second half of life your way. And I am thrilled to have as a speaker here today, Lynn Toomey. Good morning, Lynn.
Hello, Linda.
So nice to have you here. And we're going to dive into a topic that is around finances, because I think that is a critical part to our journey, and thinking about where we want to go next is really having that foundation of what you have and where you're headed. And finances is definitely a part of that. So Lynn, I'm so happy to have you here. And let me tell you a little bit about Lynn. We have Lynn Toomey. Lynn hosts the Her Retirement podcast, which is actually on one of my lists of podcasts I listen to all the time. She is a social media influencer, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and mom. And she's really passionate about her mission, which is to help people everywhere know more and have more now and in retirement. And I love what you say, Lynn, in your bio, that you have no plans to retire. Love that. Yeah. And we were talking right before we got started here of it's interesting. It seems like there's a little bit of a paradigm shift about what retirement means for people as these early, I guess, boomers and Gen X and, millennials start to get into this phase. It's starting to look and feel a little different. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely women are realizing that, retirement isn't what their grandparents or maybe their parents had in their experiences. Our greatest asset is our longevity. It's a blessing and a curse. But, suddenly when we are courageous enough to look to the future, because for some of us, the word retirement, the word money just kind of makes us like tense up and get nervous. And so when I teach my master classes, I do kind of this meditation breathing exercise at the beginning. And then at the end, because sometimes these topics bring more stress. But yeah, it's an opportunity. And if you're a glass half full kind of person, or you should be a glass half full kind of person, but look at it as opportunity and what can you do to change your life, take what you've learned all these years in your first half and say, okay, how can I use all this skill and experience and optimism to make the second half even better? I like the expression, life is good, retirement is better, but maybe we need to say on this show, on this event, the second half is better.
Yeah, no, love that. And I so agree with you. Just thinking about finances and money for many of us can raise some questions or really challenge our belief system and what we were taught growing up, whether that's a scarce mindset or wherever you are on your money mindset. So yeah, this can be an area that some women don't spend a lot of time in, but I do think it's so important as we think about that second chapter of our life and really how we want to step in as our biggest and boldest and best self. So, but let's dive in, because I know that your topic today, you're going to talk about if you're at that point. So if you're a woman and you're at midlife and you've decided, you know what, I really want to think about stepping out of maybe this corporate track and start a business. So can you talk a little bit about maybe what are the first steps? So if someone's at the very beginning of this process of even thinking about it, what do you suggest or questions maybe they start with?
Yeah, I think number one is, we're doing this maybe because, we fell into a career, we became a nurse, or we became a teacher, or, head of human resources, or whatever it is. And we just kind of fell into it and we kept doing it, maybe because it was good money, it was consistent, it worked with our lifestyle. But now in our second half, we have this opportunity to really look at who we are, what we enjoy doing. A lot of women launch businesses, or the majority of women launch businesses for impact. So what kind of impact can what you're doing have on your family, your community, your society as a whole? So I think it's really important to start with identifying your skills and your passions. So what are you good at, and what are you passionate about? There's this concept in Japanese culture called ikigai. When I first told my mom about it, she said, "Ikigai, I've been married to a couple ikigais." And I'm like, no, 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 it's not, it's not that, Mom. But ikigai kind of takes the blending of what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what the world needs. And it means like to never retire. It means to always work, combining those three elements. So if you can find your ikigai from the outset, you're going to be more successful, more fulfilled. And research proves that you can also bring in more money. It's not always the number one goal for women starting businesses in their second half. But, for me, yes, I have to continue to earn an income. It will help my lifestyle when I do, or if I do decide to retire, or it will allow me to leave a larger legacy to my family, my loved ones. So identify your skills and passions first and foremost, and then understand what the demand is for it. So those three things are very important before you endeavor to go down the path of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's such great questions, and you're right. I think that is part of your authenticity journey as well, right? Which is really, who are you, and really thinking into what your passions are and your purpose, and what do you want to achieve, in your second chapter.
For women our age, we may have had a very kind of linear career. Maybe we were stay-at-home mom, maybe we were in corporate, maybe we had our own business. But I think with longevity, especially, it changes how we live and work, and we can be in and out of work and entrepreneurship. And it's you got to be flexible, and you have to be willing to change. That's another tip. I think so often, if we've done things for a very long time, that change is scary, because change can really throw us into unstable ground. And, women want stability and security. So entrepreneurship doesn't necessarily go with stability and security. They're kind of at odds of one another. One of the things you need to do is make sure you assess your financial situation. My company, her retirement, is about knowing more, having more, and living more. And that's not necessarily just about money, but having your financial situation as grounded and as solid a foundation as possible for whatever you endeavor to do in your second half or retirement. So making sure that you identify your financial status, your income, your expenses, your savings, investments, debt. Like, you have to take a complete inventory of your financial situation. And then, once you've done that, identifying that purposeful work, what it is you want to do. I think it's always good to make sure that you try to have some other income streams, having kind of going cold turkey. Like when I decided to go into entrepreneurship, I started part-time before I left my corporate job. So it's, really valuable to do that. Sometimes you might need to upgrade some skills or knowledge. If you have a set of skills, but you kind of need to refresh or update, it's important to do that. I think it's really important to make sure that you have a budget. As much as I don't like the word budget, I like a spending plan, but to make sure that you're still continuing to budget and spend wisely, making sure that you aren't foregoing your future, right? One of the things that I see entrepreneurs later in life do is investing their life savings in this venture, which that's really, really risky because you don't have time to make up for that loss. I ventured into something, I made money from it, but I also lost money from it. And that impacted my future. But I did it at 35. It's different doing it at 35 versus 65. So I would say, be cautious of that. I think it's important to stay, as flexible and adaptable as you can so that, as things change and you change direction and you find something else out, you're able to pivot and go into another direction. So I think those would be my top tips for that.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point because a lot of times I speak with women and it's almost the sense that it's all in or nothing, but it can be phased, right? So to your point of maybe if you have that capability of continuing with some level of employment in a corporate or some other type of setting while you're setting this thing up, that is certainly doable. And it's a choice that you make. In terms of making sure you have enough to do the basics, right?
Yeah, start small and then, and then scale. I should probably eat my own dog food because I tend to I want to go big, go big or go home. But that's because I was, again, in this corporate world where we're like, okay, we're zero today and we're going to be, 10 million in a year. Go, 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 go. And here I am with my little, my little painting business or whatever it is. And, I'm like, I want to take this to a franchise level. And it's, I'm like, hold the reins back, start small and scale. And, that also helps if you are risk averse and you're concerned and you don't want to put too much out there, right? Because you're investing in yourself. You're making a big bet. So I always say, do the things that you can do yourself. Don't spend too much money on outsourcing at the beginning. Try to build organically before you invest in a lot of marketing. I'm actually working on a book called Never Too Late to Launch, and it has a lot of details around business development, marketing, a lot of the things we're talking about. And it's designed for women who are later launchers and some guidance around that. So there's, very specific things that I get into in the book based on all the years doing this and the mistakes that I've made along the way. Those are learning opportunities, by the way.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah. So if you're in the situation, you're starting to look and dive in further as to whether starting your own business is the right thing. Are there any tips is there numbers you should be thinking about if you're walking away potentially from, like in the US, we have 401k plans where you might be getting a match from an employer and putting in an own amount. Is there like a rule of thumb that you should think about if you're walking away from that sort of corporate investment for you platform?
Yeah, I would do a couple of things. One is I would make sure that you're not in debt. Like housing debt's different, but like revolving debt, credit debt, make sure your debts are clean. That will help you if and when you decide to take a business loan. I also believe you should not raid your retirement savings account. One, because there's penalties and taxes. I don't think you should forego continuing to save for retirement. That's one of the mistakes that I made because at the time I wasn't in the money world. I was in technology, and I was one of those women that I talk to now that say, "Oh, I have a master's degree. I'm an executive, but I'm stupid when it comes to money." And I don't think, it's a little harsh for women to call themselves stupid, but that's how a lot of women feel. I'm smart, but I'm stupid with my money. I was smart and I made a lot of money, but I really didn't understand the huge impact of compound interest. I'm trying to explain that to my 21-year-old girls. I'm like, $200 a month for the next 45 years, you could have $1 million. $200 a month is nothing, and you could have $1 million. That's the power of compound interest. So don't take your 401k money. Try to set up a fund for your business before you leave that full-time paycheck. don't take your 401k. Don't raid that. Don't convince someone to take a mortgage or equity line of credit on your home. It's another mistake I made. An ex-husband convinced me that that would be something to do. And at the time I was flush with cash. And, when you're flush with cash, you can make some poor decisions. So don't do that. Save up that little fund that you will use for your business. Put some parameters around it. My mistake is I took a home equity line of credit, and it was just like, like when I was a kid and my mom would go to the bank, I was like, wow, she just goes and they give her money. That's so cool. So I was like, that's so cool. I have this big fat checkbook of blank checks and this huge line of credit. And we didn't have the self-discipline to stop. We didn't think about what was that stopping point where it's like, okay, it's like when you go to the casino, you got to know if you're going to spend $50, not spend, you're going to throw $50 out the window. You have to be comfortable that that's the $50 you're going to lose. So I ask people, think about what you're willing to lose before you think about what you're willing to gain, and have a parameter and have the self-discipline around that. Maybe it's all in one account, and when the account's empty, you're done. But, knowing that number is hard. How much to invest is really a difficult question, because every enterprise requires something different. But my feeling is, don't make yourself go broke over it.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, part of this is thinking about the lifestyle that you want. So if
100%.
you're, how much of your time are you willing to spend, at working when you're over 50? And any tips on, like, do you have like lifestyle questions that you would recommend that you maybe ask yourself as you think about this type of venture?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the exercises that I have women do is, I say, write a letter to your 80-year-old self. Or another way to do it is say, think about 10 years down the road, what would you have wanted to accomplish? So kind of think about being that future person. And that's really difficult for humans to do because we're so present focused, but try to think about what you would want to have done or accomplished in the future. And I actually have a values exercise that I go through in one of my classes that I offer to women. And I think it's really important to understand those lifestyle and financial values, because a lot of people don't think about this. So this exercise that I have walks you through helping you determine what those values are, and thinking about what your priorities are in your future life. At 58, I've been doing that since my mom passed away last year, because she was kind of my focus. There's this void of a person that I was, best friends with. And it's like, okay, it's like when empty nest, right? Every transition for women that have children, every transition requires you to think about, okay, how do I want to live? We have this finite thing called time, and that's probably the most important thing to plan first. So think about how you want to plan your time. So for me, in my mind, I think about, I've created her retirement program at 55. Again, I want it to be huge. I want it to impact 1 million women. And I'm on TikTok and I have 88,000 followers. And I'm like, well, this is so cool. And then I'm like, okay, but how much time am I willing to trade to build this thing? Like, what's really going to make me feel good at 80 when I look back and say, how did I spend my time? So before you spend a dime, figure out how you want to spend your time, and do it like based on your values. But things can change, right? So you need to be flexible. So I have a 30-year-old and I have 21-year-old twins. The twins are in college, the 30-year-old's partnered up. And I'm thinking, one of these days, one of these 3 kids might have a kid. I might want to be like a grandmom. Like, I might be like, to hell with her retirement. I want to go hang out with the grandkids and teach them how to paint and how to do yoga and hike. And that will be so cool. So my whole world could change right now today. I want to help women retire however they plan to retire with more, but I might be like, nope, I want to hang out with my grandkids and hike more. And so I think, you can think about the future, but it's really hard to plan your future. You can think about what you want to do, but make sure you have a plan B. And again, I said earlier, make sure you're flexible and adaptable because things can change. For women that are partnered up, the average age of widowhood is 59 years old. I'm 58. I have a partner, but his dad's 95. So I don't think he's going anywhere, which is another scary thought. But, women, I didn't know that. I didn't know that statistic before I, ended up in this business, but I've had friends in the last couple of years lose their husbands suddenly, and their life is completely different. One of my friends, she drove on the back of her husband's motorcycle. Never in a million years did she think that she would have her own motorcycle, and she's in a motorcycle gang. But yeah, you have to think about what are the risks, the changes that could happen to you, divorce, death, your career change, your business going belly up that you worked, 5 years for. You got to be prepared for those risks and be adaptable.
Mm-hmm. And I think the focus on what do you want to do, like the fun parts, right? Not just the what ifs, but it's like what elements of fun do you want to bring in your life, and how do you want to spend your days and your time? So yeah, but those are great things, great tips, because, and you're right, it's like we have to get very comfortable with this process of reevaluation, right? We don't just stay on one path. Things will change, and the world around us changes, and technology changes, and our own life changes. So it's important.
Comfortable with changes. Yeah, comfortable with changes, like I would say, is probably one of the top skills. If you don't have it, you need to develop it. You need to get comfortable with it. Go out and do things that you haven't done before to get comfortable, that, don't put you in harm's way, but do something that you haven't done before. Go to a networking event, meet a new friend, say hi to someone at the coffee, whatever it is, to get that ability to change and go, beyond your comfort zone is really important. And maybe you watched my TikTok video I posted last night. It was 13 tips, things to do before you retire. And the 12 things were like money, legal related. And the last one, the 13th one, was, what's your fun plan? Because life's too short not to have fun. I mean, I have fun doing this. I joke with people, and, I call this retirement planning process fun, because yeah, you gotta have fun. Life's too short not to enjoy it. So definitely have your fun plan. Don't work too much. And I'm trying to tell myself this, I'm like,
it's those ingrained habits, right? We have to definitely recognize and work on that. But yeah.
Set a reminder on your phone. One of the things I did is I got a dog because I wanted to go hiking and get outside more. And it is like, he reminds me when it's time to go for my walk. And I will add that one of the most important things you can do, ladies, is put your physical and mental health like at the top, right? The two most searched terms on the internet are health and wealth. Because if you don't have your health, I was sick for the last 4 days. Today I'm finally feeling great, which is perfect timing. But I was down, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. So you have to go at it with reckless abandon to protect your health, because 80% of your health, like, is within your control. Like, maybe even 90%, 10 to 20% is genetics, which stinks because we don't have a lot of control over that, but the rest we control. So none of what Linda and I just talked about is possible if you don't feel good. So, and mentally and physically. So if nothing else, put that at the top, very top of your to-do list.
Love it. Love that. And I'm gonna let that be your final word, because I think that is I think that is great advice, and I totally agree with that. So thank you, Lynn, so much for being here. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your insight on this whole reckoning on finances when you get to midlife. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I think you have a free gift that you're
Yes,
offering. Do you want to tell us
I
more
do.
about that?
Yeah. So I said I was in the technology space for a long time. So when I entered this space, financial services, I saw that there, number one, was a void for women preparing for retirement. And I think 62% of women don't really trust their current advisor. And there weren't a lot of ways that I saw for women to get educated about this whole retirement planning thing. And I'm a tech person, so I decided to create a platform called her Retirement Readiness platform. And it's a combination of financial literacy, retirement literacy, as well as financial awareness and insight. So one of the things you can do is you take a full inventory of everything you have financially, and the software will analyze that and identify your gaps, your risks, and your opportunities for growth. It actually produces like a 40 to 50 page book that's personalized to your financial situation. So that's pretty cool. You don't need to go to Barnes and Noble and buy a retirement book. You can get your own book that's based on your situation. But one of the things I wanted to do was gift women a free preview to the software. So you can take a look around. You won't see all the functionality, but you can see all the functionality. And then in the free preview, you're able to do a brief financial readiness assessment. So it's a DIY with 25 questions. You can go and answer the questions and see if you're financially ready for retirement. When we work with women, we add a health and happiness assessment into that, because the three have to play together for a better retirement. Two, you can analyze your net worth, which is so very important, especially if you're going to start this entrepreneurial journey. It's really important to understand your net worth, which is your assets minus your liabilities, and you need to continue to track that on a regular basis. So you'll have that calculator. And then the second one that you'll be able to have access to is a retirement cash flow projection. So basically you'll put in what you think will be your retirement income sources, whether it's Social Security or 401k monies. You'll put in some expenses, which you can guess at, and then it will come back and say, this is how much you have difference, the gap between your income and your expenses. And then you can also project how your retirement savings will grow, and if it will grow enough to cover that gap. So it's a really nice retirement projection calculator that you can try also within that free preview. So it will give you a flavor of what I've been doing the past 5 years and what I've built, and see if it's a platform that could help you.
Lovely. Yeah, what a wonderful gift. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you will find the link to that free gift that Lynn mentioned, as well as all of Lynn's contact information and how to get to her website and her podcast and all her great things that she's working on. All of that is on the email that you received today, right below this video link. So thank you once again, Lynn, for being here.
Yes, and remember, it's never too late to launch, Linda.
Thank you.